Welcome back to the verdict. Back to where we're reporting everything concerning the elections. Well, you know, we're talking about those visuals that we saw.
Oh, yes.
All the voting going on, and you said something.
I said, oh, there's General Gowon.
Yeah. And
you
said something.
we as we're still pondering that, here came General Obasanjo, and we were like, okay. Quite a number of key visuals there. You have people who are voting, but we now understand that in many places, voting has been concluded, and counting has in fact started. One of such places, as we understand it, is Ward 2, Unit 9, or Edo local government area of Edo State. Now, so if we're ready with that...
I think we will take that subsequently while they're coming. We'll get that subsequently. But this still
back to the conversation we're having.
Yes.
Now, why I asked the question about sabotage is because INEC consistently, after the 1 week postponement, briefed every day and talked about how they prepared their structure, the planning, and everything that they have lined up every day until today. I mean, until yesterday. So I asked that question about, is it that there's sabotage somewhere? Is it that INEC does not sit down to look at what it's done and then say, okay, this is where we made mistakes and all of that?
You heard one of the candidates just now say.
Sorry to interrupt you again, but we're just looking at the live pictures that we have there. That's Pastor Ighodalo there, and some other people that look rather happy to have concluded their voting. And that's him again here,
and
casting
his wife casting their votes. Is it after or before? This one's probably after they'd casted their votes, they now came out to shout for joy. Is it relief? So hold on, you could still send us pictures of how you voted. You know, we talked about the hashtag I voted. Take a picture of your thumb with the marking, maybe your thumb and your whichever finger.
Some people actually did both. They had a thumb and then they had a finger.
Exactly.
And everything. So that was great.
Send them in. Let's put it out there and tell us how your experience. I voted, hashtag the verdict, and hashtag 2019 elections. But also know this, that we're live on YouTube. You can follow us, you can watch us wherever you are on YouTube, and then send in your comments as well. The verdict at channelstv.com. We can take all of that as they come in. So you were saying something about...
Yes, I said that perhaps, and I don't want to... I mean, let's acknowledge one thing. It's a monstrous challenge to organize and conduct an election on a single day in a country of this nature, which has different climates, different terrains, etc., etc. But the question is whether, as Mr. Moghalu said, whether INEC addresses this from a project management structure, which is really detailed and all of that, or whether they take it from an administration structure, which means that once you've written down a few things, then you feel, yes, they are done, rather than seeing them through. I don't know. But you mentioned sabotage. And I say that countries that hide behind, or institutions that hide behind allegations of sabotage for their failures without establishing with clear proof should not be.
Okay. Now, the other side of it is when you talk about outsourcing this. The question of alliances might come into play.
Alliances.
Yes, you talked about bringing in the private sector side to handle these issues of logistics.
You mean partnerships? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yes.
Either partnership or outsourcing
for a period, there is short-term contract, etc. After all, INEC does not produce its own card readers. It's all private sector input. So I'm saying that because of the demands of an electoral process, the private sector will be better engaged. First of all, you are paying them for performance. So you're going to give them performance. So if you don't deliver by 6, you are in breach. So businesses are like, okay, get it there. We don't want to hear all the excuses. Somebody's ill, somebody's mother died, all of that thing that sometimes distracts us or can give us an excuse. You know, we can be quite sentimental. So I'm saying that the conduct, right, is an administrative process. The conduct, that means those empowered by law to perform the duties, to verify the process, is one thing. But the operational end, and that's where the challenges come in any endeavor, is the operations. That's why you find that America and Iraq was more consistently using private contractors for military duties, because they just, first of all, you have to talk about the resources. What are the resources available to INEC, right? Especially the human element. Now you've heard about the, some lack of cohesion between youth corpus and you know, and then I don't know. I have my thoughts about the use of youth corpus. You know, whether they have.
I think they call it as a national service.
Yeah, but we agree.
That's what they're saying.
We agree. We agree. But in cases where you have to extend an election because you didn't start on time, who has the discretion? Who determines? You know, that decision. But that's another issue. Something else was said, which I think is important, that, oh, since there's the power to extend, we shouldn't worry too much. That's what somebody said, that, oh, even if you don't conclude voting at 2, you can extend. And I've said, just like in my profession, where extension of time for doing a thing is always granted, any system that indulges failure by saying, oh, you have a bit more time, has a problem. So I'm saying Nigeria's default position is that, oh, if we don't do it today, we'll do it tomorrow. And I'm saying that we need to change that philosophy. And that's why an election audit is very key. Not on the voting process, but on the logistics.
Can I ask you something
yes.
else? We dedicated a whole episode
yes.
Sometime this week and last week to groups that are vulnerable. And so we looked at physically challenged, etc. Right. And we had a whole discussion about what INEC was going to do. So one of them who was on our panel last week wrote into us today saying that the experience was not any different. There were no braille guides as they promised. And that the unit where he went to was completely inaccessible. And he said he's totally disappointed in you know, in his work. I would say in the commission, that's how he put it. When you see things like that, and you know that there are not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, there are quite a lot of them.
Indeed.
Should we still be talking about that now?
Well, you know, you see, there's a difficulty. You can't, for instance, let's talk about wheelchair accessibility. It means you have to reconfigure all your voting, you know, and you know that they don't, it's not an INEC installation. These are schools, etc., etc.
Which are just loaned for
the day. Which are just loaned for the day. The way around, if you want to enfranchise everybody in this age of technology, people should not have to be going to polling booths, queuing up, etc. We don't need all these restrictions and all. You could use your phone. However, there's always pushback against such systems, because then it cuts off a huge lot of people who benefit from all the chaos and confusion. You know that, you know, there's profit in confusion. If you don't get something right, you can, you know, delay it, you can, you know, and all of that. So, look, if I were the INEC chairman, I would commission a study on the viability of phone-based elections. Granted, it won't touch everybody because everybody doesn't have a smartphone. But you can sort of, your urban areas, you can. There must be a way that we don't restrict. This restriction of movement is a bit antediluvian.
And restriction of business as well.
You know, it impacts business. It's just, I mean, if you were a stranger and you came to the country today, you'd assume, is there a war, a curfew, something? And they say, no, they're voting. You know, it could be like, what? And nobody goes out.
But Mr. Athawari, at this point, a number of the things you talk about, when people talk about e-voting and the phone thing, and so, you're a lawyer.
Yes.
I've heard the INEC chairman talk about the restrictions imposed by the law.
Yes.
For example, the card readers, as controversial as they have become and so on, currently are not recognized under the law.
That's the discretion of the chairman.
That's number one. Number two, any process you introduce, which is not manual, is not supported by law currently, because the law says you are to count manually and all of that. Now, being that you're a professional in that same field, don't you think that a lot more effort, I mean, as part of the audit, a lot more effort should be put in amending the law? And how do you get that passed, as those you talked about earlier, who benefit from the current?
No, look, there's an imperative about change. That's the thing about history will tell you that most societies have moved from clearly most difficult, confounding circumstances to nobody thought before that we'd be using card readers or electronic cards. I handled an election where it was metal boxes, fireproof boxes, and you open them and people put their votes in and so on. We used to do line up behind your candidate and all of that and all of that. So we've made substantial progress in the process. Although you see the difficulties if you introduce card readers and there's no network in a particular area, that's going to be a problem. But these are technical problems that could be dealt with. But the issue of the audit will address issues of legislative change. I mean, if the people, and what the representatives in NAS must remember, and which they seem to often forget, is that their main brief is to represent their people in
the National Assembly.
No, in the constituencies where they were elected. Sometimes when they get to Abuja, they forget that they were coming from some locality in Ogun or Osun, etc. And so if you've seen the stress which your people go through every day at elections, the subject, look, if you are in an area that is what they call a high insecurity area, and just as Odinkalu said, and then they tell you, oh, the voting material came late, but you have to extend. And then behind you is a forest, you know, full of bandits or whatever. So the point I'm making is that what needs to be done, and which I'm sure the chairman of INEC just accepts it, and everybody does, is that it's a process. And we must audit this one. Remember, this was a double whammy. A last-minute postponement, and then an election. So if you compound all of that, it's quite. And what was the reason? Logistics.
The big L, as we call it.
So we must deal with that so that we do elections quickly, efficiently, less stress on the people. This will encourage more people to come out to vote, and you'll get a wider mandate for going forward.
But beyond logistics, did you notice the arrival of VIPs? I mean, that was a big issue. Everybody kept talking about the fact that it was as though voting for other people was suspended while that was going on. And then the question came, should there be a special area where their support, well, not say supporters now, where those who are watching or something can be, so that there's no disruption? I don't know.
Let me say it this way. I despise the whole concept of VIP in a Republican democracy. It's ridiculous. But we've acknowledged it. We talk about them as if they are an identified group. They are not. Anybody who can go get the police to give him 5 Mopol, who should be fighting armed robbers somewhere, but instead is escorting some fellow that we don't even know. I've said it openly. First of all, there is no law that enables this thing. This is just an inspector general or a CP's discretion. And discretion is a dangerous thing if not controlled by regulation or legislation. In an election, there is no categorization of people in terms of whether you are VIP or whatever. The rules must apply to everybody. Now, what you find today is that those who are more conscious of the need to appear like everybody else, like Comrade or Shomole and others, they stayed in the queue. Even the VP, you saw the VP, a very subtle, appearance, no stress, no. But those who do not understand the need for restraint will go into an electoral process and disrupt the process. Now, if voting is a timelined thing, then this is no good for the process. So my view is that if you come, you queue up. Now, if you make a law, right? If you make a law that says if you come, no matter your status, you queue up, we have to then look at the cultural element. It's our people too that tend to defer to a certain class.
Because even for NT, NT said after some time, they recognized him.
Exactly. And then say, oh, go, or go. And my problem sometimes, because I'm skinny, they think I'm just some guy. But if I had a big belly and 2 policemen on the side.
I think we have, can we quickly go back to our correspondent, Larry Lasisi? I can see him there trying to report to us about the coalition that's going on. Larry?
Adama. Yola. Oh, sorry.
Be ready, be ready. Okay, so we're still here at the polling unit, Ajia 012, and sorting has now been completed. I can tell you that we're now into the counting phase, and we started with the Senate. The result for Senate has the PDP with 120 votes, while the APC has 187 here. That's what we have. That's what we have right now, and the counting is still ongoing. We're still going to wait till the final results are announced by the agent. But right now they're going into that of the House of Reps, and that will now take us to the one everybody is waiting for, that of the presidential. And as it is right now, I can tell you between the time we started sorting and the time that we also had the counting commence, the crowd here has grown steadily. Everybody appears to be coming back to the polling unit to get the results as it is going down. And we're still here. The House of Reps is not being completed, and the counting is going on, and we will still be here waiting till the results are all counted, signed, agreed on, and declared. One, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73.
Was counted and to make sure their vote counts. So I think they took that literally as we see the crowd growing there, as Larry has said.
Well, also, I mean, this is expected. What dovetails back to the discussion that we're having with Mr. Arthur Warrior about this is what you might call a VIP polling unit, because this is the unit of the former vice president. So they know they will be under a lot of media spotlight and so on. So things probably are a lot more orderly here than they otherwise would probably have been if media, of course, because those who are voters are also aware that there's going to be a lot of attention here, so there's a tendency to also want to...
Should we have a VIP at each polling?
If it has a salutary effect, on the process.
I think they were quick, seeing as some people didn't start till about 1:30 or so, and we can find...
And they already have the results of the senatorial election in that unit. Yes, in that unit. Now they're about to conclude that of the House of Reps, and very soon they'll move on to that of the...
Do you think the way it's gone now, with some people counting and other people still voting, do you think that will have an impact on the final result in terms of when we will hear who has won?
You mean whether one would impact on the other?
Yeah.
I doubt it. I think each unit is sort of isolated. And I think voting generally across the country has concluded now. So
except for those places, yes, except for probably those places where they already extended it probably early. And as some of our guests already pointed out, Mr. Arthur Warrior has also pointed out that look, there are some places where the extension will not work.
Okay, I know this can continue, but we're going to go on a short break, and we'll have a bit more participation, especially those who are writing into us on our hashtag. Let's see what they're saying as well when we come back.